ever feel like you're just like drowning in feelings? And not just your own, everyone else's too. That's what we're diving into today. Emotional intelligence. EQ.
It's not just a buzzword.
Definitely not.
Yeah.
We're going to break down why it's seriously maybe like the secret weapon in a world that's always been obsessed with, like IQ.
Right.
It's interesting, for a long time, all this emotional intelligence stuff, it was kind of pushed aside.
Right? Like, oh, those are just soft skills.
Exactly. Soft skills. But now the research is saying, hold on a second.
It's essential.
It's important.
For everything. Well-being, relationships, career.
Okay, so let's unpack it. What is emotional intelligence, really?
Right.
What we've been reading says it's basically being able to recognize, understand, and I love this word, manage your own emotions.
Right.
But it's not just about you.
It's about others, too.
It's also being able to recognize, understand, and influence those same things in other people.
It's like having, an extra sense.
It's true.
But for feelings.
Yeah.
For the social world.
Right, because it's not about being, overly emotional, right? It's about harnessing it.
Yes.
Using it.
Yeah.
Using it to your advantage. And our sources are saying there are 5 key parts to this whole EQ thing.
Okay. So we've got self-awareness, self-regulation, motivation, empathy.
Okay, wait. Let's break this down one by one because I feel like that's a lot.
It's a lot.
So self-awareness, that seems pretty straightforward. But is it really?
Right.
How many of us are really, truly, truly in touch with what's going on?
You think you are.
Right, exactly.
So what is self-awareness in the context of EQ?
It's like, really being able to pinpoint your emotions. What are you feeling? Understanding what triggers those feelings. And then this is huge, recognizing how all of that, those emotions, those triggers, how they're impacting your thoughts, your behavior. It's like having an inner GPS for your own, emotional landscape.
Okay, so give me an example. How does this actually play out in real life? Okay, so say you're stressed about a work deadline.
Been there.
Right. And you snap at a coworker.
Oh, yeah.
A person with high self-awareness. They're going to be able to step back and go, okay, hold on. That outburst, that wasn't really about the work. That was the stress talking.
That was my stress monster coming out.
Exactly.
And that kind of awareness, that brings us to the next component, which is self-regulation.
Yes.
And that, my friend, is sometimes easier said than done.
Oh, absolutely. Especially in the heat of the moment.
Because we've all been there where we've said something, done something, fired off that email, and then 5 minutes later you're like, ugh.
The cringe is real.
Yeah.
But that's what self-regulation is all about, learning to manage those impulsive feelings and behaviors. So you're in control. You're not letting your emotions run the show. It's like instead of sending that angry email when you're heated, you take a walk, cool down, come back, and address it calmly.
Which is such a game changer, especially now. Everything's so instant. So, okay, we've talked about recognizing our emotions, managing them, but what about motivation? Where does that fit into all of this?
Okay, so people with high EQ, they're often driven by internal motivation.
What does that mean?
They're passionate about what they do. They're not just chasing external rewards. They have that growth mindset. They see challenges as opportunities. Think of a dedicated athlete who trains constantly, not just for the medal, but for the love of the sport.
The love of the game.
Exactly.
They're hooked on the process, not just the outcome.
Exactly.
Okay, so speaking of a crucial element, especially these days, let's talk about empathy.
Huge one.
Because it's more than just feeling sorry for someone.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Empathy is about genuinely stepping into someone else's shoes.
Really seeing it from their perspective.
Yes. Understanding their perspective, even if it's different from yours, and then responding with compassion. And it goes beyond just recognizing the obvious emotions, like, oh, they're sad or they're happy. It's about picking up on those subtler cues, the stuff people might be feeling but not saying.
So even if someone's like, oh, no, I'm fine, you can kind of read between the lines.
Yeah, exactly.
And maybe offer some support.
And they might not even know why you're offering the support, but you just feel it.
It's like a sixth sense.
Yes.
And that brings us to the last piece of the puzzle. Social skills.
Getting it all together.
Right. This is where the rubber meets the road, right?
Exactly. It's how we build relationships, how we communicate effectively, how we inspire others, how we handle conflict.
And people with high EQ, they tend to be amazing at this stuff.
Right. They really are. They're the collaborators.
Yeah.
The communicators.
They build bridges instead of walls.
100%.
And so much of what we've been talking about comes down to connection,
Absolutely.
which is so important. So we see why emotional intelligence is important. But our sources are saying it's more than just a nice to have. It actually has a real impact.
A real impact. Research shows there's a strong correlation between high EQ and success. And I'm talking like across the board, leadership, teamwork, even mental well-being.
It's like EQ is the secret sauce.
It really is.
And there's this one example from the material that really stuck with me. It's about this high-pressure team project.
Oh, yeah.
Right, so everyone's stressed, deadlines are looming, we've all been there. But here's the thing. The source points out that a leader with high emotional intelligence,
Yeah.
they're not just going to be like barking orders.
Right.
They're going to be able to sense the team's frustration, address it before it becomes a bigger issue, and actually guide everyone towards a more, positive and productive environment.
It's like that old saying, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure.
Exactly.
They're not just putting out fires all the time.
Right, because they're preventing the fire in the first place. So, okay, this all makes sense, but how do we actually get better at this emotional intelligence thing?
Well, the first step is, like, knowing it's a journey. It's not like you wake up one morning and boom, you've got perfect EQ. It's something you cultivate over time.
It's a practice.
Exactly. And it starts with self-awareness. Pay attention to your emotions throughout the day. The source mentioned something called emotion tracking, which I love.
What's that?
It's super simple but powerful. You basically just jot down your feelings and what triggered them throughout the day for a week or so. You'll start to notice patterns in your emotional landscape.
Oh, that's so interesting. So, like, if I notice that I always get irritable after scrolling social media,
There you go.
that's good information to have.
Exactly. That's self-awareness in action. And the more aware you become, the more you can manage those emotions and respond to the people around you with empathy. It's like leveling up your emotional intelligence.
This deep dive has been amazing. I feel like someone just handed us the cheat codes to life.
Right.
But really, I'm serious. This is like the key to better relationships, a more fulfilling life. I'm starting to see emotional intelligence everywhere now.
And like any skill, the more you practice, the better you get. Start small, be kind to yourself, and you might be surprised at the difference it makes.
It's true. So here's something to think about as we wrap up today. If you could significantly increase your emotional intelligence in just one area of your life, which would you choose and why?
That's a good one.
Think about that. Until next time, keep diving deep.